United with me, John Foster, MUFC. We've got Connor looking after the technical stuff today because I'm on my phone. Reece, thank you for just putting that intro on. And this is the first show I've actually done with a new intro, and it looks great, all the background. So thank you to everybody involved with that. I see people in the comments already. Thank you very much. I believe there's a scrolling message to go along the bottom as well, Connor. So if you wouldn't mind just looking for that one, I think it's on there somewhere. I'll set it up a little bit earlier. But we want to get into obviously what's happened over the last 2 or 3 days, and I'll put a little tweet out earlier today about this is why I don't worry about Man United transfers. I might worry about who we actually go after, but just because it's a bit quieter, we haven't announced anyone, it doesn't mean that things aren't happening behind the scenes. You know, I think people are probably naive to think that such a big business and such a big footballing club aren't doing work in the busiest time of the transfer window. So obviously things are being done. It's just not being announced as quick as we would like. That's my opinion. That's the way I'm looking at it. Whether or not you actually like the signings or think that they're good signings or good value for money, that's obviously a different debate. But it just goes to show that at any point we can announce 2 to 4 signings within the space of 7 days if we want to. And I think that's kind of what we've seen, even though it's not formally announced. If you've been looking at David Ornstein Twitter, which is what the person who I've been following in the past few days, is obviously being well up on not just the transfers, but obviously Ronaldo as well. So lots to get into today. Let's say hello to everybody in the actual podcast itself. Stuart, how you doing, mate?
Yeah, good, thank you. Yeah, quite pleased about today's events, really, which I'm sure we'll get into it in a few minutes. But yeah, absolutely. Scored a couple tonight, so I'm always happy when I score. No world is tonight, I'm afraid. Everyone, a couple of tap-ins, but hey, you got to be there. If you're not there, you don't score. So there you go. But we did get beat 5-4, so that was a slightly sour note.
What was it, 5-a-side or what was it?
7-a-side, yeah. 7-a-side. We play in a 7-a-side league on a Monday night, but we're top at the minute. That was our first loss, but it was a stupid loss, really. We should have won. But anyway.
That was so Kai Rooney-esque. Lost 5-4, scored 4. I love that.
Well, you know. So, yeah, that's all in all. Yeah, good day.
Excellent. Reece, how you doing, mate? It is muted, isn't it? I thought about going.
Wow, the hosting skills have come well and truly out the window after. Yeah, no, it's good to be on your show, John. It's good to be on the Monday show. It's I feel quite relaxed when I'm not hosting, so it's nice to see all the usual faces and be on the show. Yeah, great.
Excellent. Yeah, and we've got plenty to talk about. Connor, how you doing, mate?
Yeah, all good. Second show today. Going to plug it. If you haven't already, subscribe to Wolf United WFC. It's worth the watch, especially with the Women's Euros just around the corner. But yeah.
And a new sign on the women's team as well.
It's been a busy day. You tell you something, you're part of Wolf United and you support both the men's and the women's teams. Today has been absolutely crazy. So yeah, we got a show tomorrow talking about United's new signing on the women's channel as well. So yeah, make sure you check out Wolf United WSC. But no, I'm glad to be back on this side talking about the men's team as well, because it's been a good day from the men's side as well, considering the last 24 hours with all of the Ronaldo stuff as well.
Awesome, yeah, absolutely, yeah. Andrew, good to see you again. How are you doing? You okay?
Yeah, all good. Thanks for having me on. And so definitely lots to talk about tonight with transfers coming in finally.
Yeah, well, you said that finally. I mean, Andrew, let's just start off with yourself then. The way I introduced it about 5 minutes ago about not being particularly worried just because it's been quiet and we weren't the first to strike. You know, obviously Man City, Chelsea, Arsenal, all either signed or got stronger links with top players. We might have had a few rumours here and there, but we was kind of like the last to kind of get anyone over the line. Was you ever worried at any point, or did you kind of start worrying at all?
So not necessarily. I'd be more worried. Would say we got to the end of the transfer window and we hadn't literally made the reinforcements we'd had. Then I'd be like starting to worry. But at the moment, United have always been naturally slow in the transfer window starting out. Everybody else seems to get ahead of us, and then we seem to be just coming up behind. So it's just, and so from hearing like certain players are coming and rumoured with other players as well, but now it seems like United seem to be stepping their foot on the gas with their pre-season only first game a week away. So yeah, not so worried. I think Ten Hag's got, the players he wants to be coming in, so the board are pursuing those players, and looks like a couple of players might be announced in the next couple of days, so it'll be good to see those players coming in, likes of Malacia and Eriksen. I'm hoping I'm saying Malacia's name right there. So, but yeah, so not worried so far. So, but I think once those players come in and a few more go out, then Ten Hag will definitely shape his squad for the season ahead as well.
It's a settling in issue for me. It's all right delaying signings, but it really comes down to a settling in issue. It doesn't matter how experienced you are as a player or how inexperienced you are as a player. You've got to have time to settle into a different club, different mentality, sometimes a different culture if you're coming from a foreign league, etc. And I think that's one of the main issues that we've got. I think we're always going to do business. We just haven't acted as swiftly as we could have done. Now, whether or not Ten Hag is okay with this, we won't know. The club will give us the usual rhetoric about once they sign a player. They seem to do things correctly in the transfer window for once, but it will always come down to me that as a player, as a footballer, you want to know which door you're walking through. Are you walking through Barcelona's door for pre-season training, or are you going through Manchester United's door? So if I'm Frankie de Jong, I come back Wednesday, that's the first question I'm going to be asking, because I will want to know that. Because I don't want to do 2 or 3 weeks with Barcelona and then come across to Old Trafford at the end of July. That to me would be no good as a footballer. It's the same with Martinez, and that's why he's pushing. He now knows that if I'm going to go to Old Trafford or I'm going to Arsenal, I need it done before I start my pre-season work with Ajax. And people seem to forget all this. They don't quite get that it's not just as easy as just walking out, one door and into another and adapting immediately. And we've seen it with player after player after player. They've taken their time to adapt to the UK. Donny van der Beek's a great example. He's really struggled, but he never really had a full pre-season with us. And so these are big issues for us. So if we can get these players over the line and Ten Hag can get them on the plane to Bangkok on Friday, then it'd be great. If he can't, you're just playing catch up. He's done his main pre-season work already with the lads when he went back on the 29th. So that's my thoughts on it anyway.
I think as well it might have taken a bit more time because of how long it potentially took to get Ten Hag in the first place. Ten Hag might not have been, I know they're going to come out and say he was the first choice, but it took a long time. We waited till right after, the full end, towards the end of the season to get him in. So I know there's been a month, a month and a half in between kind of the end of the season and now, but these things do take time. They might not have got Ten Hag's targets until a month and a half ago, and then obviously you got the negotiations. Someone was in the comments there about Barcelona setting the price. Barcelona are notoriously going to be difficult to deal with at the moment because of all their financial issues, so they're going to be hard to get players off. So that's probably why De Jong is being stretched out. Obviously we've got the thing with Ronaldo now that's come out of nowhere, but I think it's been a good day, and I think it seems like for once we're making sensible signings. It doesn't seem like we're just going after players because of their names. We're going after players that will buy into Ten Hag's system for a start, players that he knows that he can trust, so they're not going to turn on him like we saw with the players last season that completely down tools on both managers. So I think we're seeing sensible signings for once. I'm not saying that these players that were linked, the two obviously on the thumbnail, Malacia and Eriksen, those two alone are not going to take us to the title, but I think it's a step in the right direction, because I think if this was, and I might get a load of stick for this, but if this was the old United, we'd be linked to Neymar right now. We'd be pushing that deal and everything else.
No, thanks.
We're actually linked, for me, for sensible players in positions that you could argue are pretty needed. I don't know whether Reece, you'd agree on that one.
Yeah, I think there's definitely a little bit of that, isn't there? I think we'd usually see some of the signings that we're possibly trying to steer away from now. Like even sort of the Ibra signings was, Ibrahimovic. Obviously, I think there was a comment earlier on Twitter saying, I think we put on the All Fan United Twitter channel about this Eriksen signing being one of the best free signings you could ask for. And I think Ibrahimovic was up there, but I think even signings like that, this Eriksen one is more sensible type signing. And I think coming away from people like Neymar and these kind of flamboyant signings is something we just don't need as a club. I think equally with the strength that we've got in terms of the youth structure that we've got coming through as well. Ten Hag's got a great foundation there. He's probably not rushing and panicking into this situation as well. He's looking at the squad that he's got, bearing in mind that he's only just come in to the club in the last, I know he's been announced for a few months now, but this is his first week at training, second week this week. He's got a lot to learn as a Man United manager, in terms of the staff, in terms of the training facilities, in terms of the squad. He's not seen a lot of the first team players yet as well. Obviously, Maguire's only just come back, for example. I know that's probably not a player that people want to hear much about at this moment in time, considering the season he had just last season. But he's got a lot to learn. So, I know as fans, we want to see those kind of mega signings. We want to see the names coming through. And, we as fans, sometimes we played into sort of like Ed Woodward's hands, didn't we? We wanted to see those flamboyant, magnificent names. But we've got to be patient as fans now. If we want sensible things and sensible kind of movements going forward and improvements in terms of the structure of the club and everything else, then we've got to be patient with this. And we have got a great youthful foundation in this club now. I mean, that team, there's under 18s coming through and an unbelievable side, and we've got to trust in that as well as wanting these people coming through the doors, these players coming through the door. So I've not panicked. I don't, it's typically that I could quite honestly see us not doing much other than signing Eriksen and Malacia, and still doing well next season, as daft as it sounds. But we'll see. We'll definitely see.
Yeah,
I mean, I take on point. Sorry, yeah, I take on board that people are saying it's not about panicking, but you cannot underestimate integration in a football team. It's as vital as choosing the right player. Once you've chosen the right player, the next really important thing is integrating them into the setup and integrating them into the team. And this is going to be the issue. Now, you're probably right, Connor. He might have had Ten Hag's list until 2 weeks ago. Who knows when this list was given, when they finally decided this is the system and setup I want to play, and these are types of players I want to bring in. But then you've really got to move. And you're right about Barcelona haggling. My overall feeling, by the way, is De Jong. I just don't think he's invested in coming to Old Trafford. I really don't. Irrespective of what's going on at Barcelona. I did say on a show, I think it must have been last week, that I felt, even before Laporte came out, I felt there would be an issue with De Jong coming to United, and then he'd have to take a wage cut to stay there. And I'm still kind of wavering towards that. Look, if he comes, he comes. Is he going to be a game changer for us? Who knows? I think with him and Eriksen, Martinez, if he does come, Bruno, Donny van der Beek, we've got a way more superior midfield and a more fluid midfield than we had when we got the static Fred and McTominay. So from that point of view, that's great. And to be brutally honest, Martinez, Eriksen and De Jong, because De Jong will take the ball deep, as we know, will help Maguire and Varane no end. It still won't affect what De Gea does. If we can get the Pritt stick off or the Gorilla Glue off his studs, and we can get him moving, we should become a much better, a more free-flowing football team. So for me, it's not about panicking. It's purely about integration. And I've seen it. I've seen it before. I've seen players come in. They've got a great rep, in the West Mids leagues, etc., etc. They're tripping over because they don't understand the style of play. They don't understand where they're supposed to be at any given time. And it takes time to be able to do that. So integration is the biggest problem for me at the minute.
It kind of, you've linked me in very nicely, Stu, into, because this is a hot debate whether Ronaldo integrated into the squad as well as potentially some people may or may not have thought. So there's a couple of questions here that it kind of leads us into the Ronaldo stuff that's come out kind of today and yesterday about the links to Chelsea and everything. I mean, we don't want that. That's a complete no-go. I've tried to get some information today and it's all kind of hush at the moment, so that's probably meaning there's something in this, which I really hope not. But there's a couple of questions here that we'll get to, kind of linking us into the Ronaldo topic. We'll go through a couple of these quickly before we go into the actual conversation around Ronaldo. Talking about this one here, I don't know who wants to jump on this in terms of potential swap deal. Obviously, I've not seen too much of that, if I'm going to be totally honest. I don't know whether anyone else has seen that, or potentially if that's a swaying factor in this De Jong deal.
I don't know if I don't want to say Andrew's thunder, because I know Andrew wants to jump on this as well, but I can't see that happening. I mean, other than the fact that he's going to be, he potentially nearly upset the United fans when there was rumours of him coming to City last season. I think that the fact that he would possibly upset Madrid fans as well by even tempting them into not allowing him to go to Bar. Is that his new tactic now as well? Like threatening to go to the rival to get a move to the club that he actually wants to go back to. I can't see that happening. I think that if anything, this is agent tactics. His agent's really clever. He does these sort of things that puts seeds in people's certain clubs' heads, and he gets the move done. And that's what Ronaldo does. He's one of the very few players in the world that can pretty much dictate where he wants to go. And I think the only thing now is that age is starting to become a factor. I think for most players, it would have become a factor 7 years ago. But for Ronaldo, he's just starting to get over that crest of that hill. But I think clubs are now wary of the fact that he is 37, 38 and don't want to pay that kind of wage, despite the fact that he still comes with a goal threat. So I think this is all agent tactics. I think his agent is very, very, very clever. And I think I don't think there's a definite swap deal on. I think it's anything to probably try and sort of Real Madrid or some other team into picking him out and taking him on board. So yeah, I don't think there's any truth in that. I think there's a lot of truth in him moving, but we might get onto that a bit further in a second. But yeah.
Andrew, what's your kind of thoughts on this then? Because like I said, someone made a good point in the comments earlier. Who would have thought Ronaldo is running out of clubs to go to? That's a strange prospect. Like I said, now you're hearing. I said Chelsea seems to be an interest. That's all I say on that one. But other than that, I mean, Barca, Bayern, you're struggling really to find clubs that would potentially even have the money or want him in the first place.
I know there was reported that Napoli in Italy were interested as well. I'm like, really? I'm just like Chelsea being. I know his agents met with the Chelsea owner, and I'm like, well, they could just been speaking about other players, and Ronaldo's name's just come up. It's all conjecture anyway. And like with Barcelona as well, we seem to, from what we've reported, we have agreed the fee with like all the add-ons and everything. Why would Ronaldo want to go to Barcelona? I mean, they're in financial crisis, and Barcelona have been more interested in Lewandowski from Barcelona at Bayern Munich. So that's more their aim, and Lewandowski wants to leave Bayern. So if he's likely to Ronaldo to leave and he wanted to try a new league, then it'd be the German league, or he'd want to go home to Portugal and have a few years left there, or maybe in America. But I just don't see him going to America, because it's almost like I don't want to say it, but like a graveyard, it's like where the best players, they're running out of time and they go to retire. So I'm like, Ronaldo wants to finish his career on a high, and I think me looking it through a bit like rose-colored glasses, I'd want him to stay another year, because I just think that experience for those players that are still there and these new players coming in as well, I just think it's just vital he might just stay that one more season. But that's me looking, as I say, through rose-coloured glasses. I'm just thinking the moments he gave us last season in such a dismal season. I just thought, without him, some of his goals, I'm just thinking we could have been in the bottom half of the table. So I just think, but I know longer term Ronaldo's not the solution. So in the end, it's United have got a bit of a dilemma over the summer. So it's what they do next is key. Well, from Ronaldo's side and United side too.
Stu, can you kind of see him? That I said, we'll focus more on the Chelsea link, because that's the most recent stuff that's come out. Because I know there was a show on this yesterday, so I don't want to spend too long on this. But Chelsea seem to be the one that's kind of being spoken about the most, particularly today. My friend who's a Chelsea fan keeps sending me Ronaldo gifts every 5 minutes, which I cannot wait to send back to him when he doesn't sign for him, hopefully. nobody clipped that up to come back to me in a few weeks' time. But Stu, where do you kind of stand on this then in terms of the Chelsea links that have come out in the last kind of 24 hours or so?
Well, their new owners have got to do something, haven't they? Their new owners have got to make a wave of some kind of description. They've got to bring a specific player in, whoever that may well be. I actually think Chelsea go for Neymar rather than Ronaldo. The interesting thing about me, about what I think about the Ronaldo thing, and by the way, if I was the board of United, I'd just tell him to do one and get on the plane to Bangkok, shut the fuck up. You're staying here for 12 months, tough. I really would. You've got to, and if he cries, so be it. That's his problem. But you're under contract to the club. You shouldn't allow any player to turn the screw on you, let alone Cristiano Ronaldo. But here's the real thing. A player of his caliber and his quality and his stature in the game, why on earth is an agent pimping him out? It doesn't make any sense to me whatsoever. You don't go knocking on the door saying, oh, by the way, Cristiano's free. You've got clubs knocking on your door saying, can we get Cristiano out of Man United? Can we prize him away? And that doesn't seem to be happening. So if it's been reported that he's over in Barcelona touting, Ronaldo to Laporte, then it's pretty poor. It's pretty poor. And if I was Ronaldo, I'd be embarrassed by it, quite frankly. I really would, because it's not, becoming of a player of his stature. Messi tried to stay at Barcelona, did everything he possibly could to stay there, if you believe the reports, by the way. But it was just financially impossible. So he moves and he goes to PSG. The end. It was a done deal straight away. You don't have this with a player Ronaldo's stature. So, as the lads have said, he's running out of clubs. I think Chelsea are doing it to. I just think that Todd Bowley's just giving it the big one, really. But I think he'll end up trying to prize Neymar. I think he'll have to go somewhere big. You're going to see Chelsea over the next 2 or 3 years try and do what Woodward did for us and try and get these so-called Galactico players, but that's up to them. But the problem is, if you're a Chelsea fan, and you should absolutely remind your mate of this, Connor, they've got no fucking defenders. They've only got Thiago Silva. Everybody else is fucked off. So what do you do? De Ligt looks like he's probably going to Bayern Munich. They think he's the one for them. He's got a massive buyout clause in his contract. I think it's 120 million euros. But he seems hell bent on Barcelona, on Bayern Munich. I think you're right about Lewandowski. He wants to go to Barcelona. I think he's made that very, very clear. Napoli, they've got Champions League football, so I just think they're just chucking their hat in the ring. Why would you go to Napoli? So he's running out of clubs. Could he go to PSG and replace Neymar? Well, you've got to question ambition, because he's talking about ambition. And you're going into a league where you've heard me speak about this and say about this before. It's the path of least resistance, isn't it, for some players? Is Ronaldo looking for the path of least resistance, or is he going to tuck his skirt in and actually lead us to some kind of silverware this year? I'd say you've got to look at it. And so, if I was a board, I'd just tell him, tough, cry. I'll get you a new mobile or something to hang over your cot, mate, because the bottom line is you're a footballer. You're contracted to Man United, to get on with it. It really is that simple. Just get on with it. So I don't see a swap deal with Frankie de Jong. My thoughts on de Jong anyway. So, no, I just... the other thing about this is, by the way, it's only talk. If it happens, it happens. But currently it's only talk. And he hasn't come out and said anything, though, I guess. But reports are today he's got a personal issue in Portugal, aren't there? So I don't know whether that's a cover up or not. Who knows? But anyway, that's my thoughts on it.
Well, I'll just jump on that. I think he's always kind of said, hasn't he, that he wanted to finish off his career back at Sporting. And let's be honest, he's not got many years, even at kind of that level, really, in the Portuguese league, to be playing at the kind of the level that is expected of him to. He'll still need to be at a decent level to sort of compete and get his place at that at that level as well. So I think there's probably an element of truth in it. I think that what's annoyed and sort of peed off a lot of fans is the fact it's the level of timing with this now. We're in pre-season. He should have come out a month ago, end of the season, really, ideally, when it finished, and said, right, thanks guys, but I'll be moving on. I understand he's still in contract, but let's be honest, it's 12 months left, and it's Ronaldo. You wouldn't begrudge him at the age that he was to age that he is to be moving on. So for me, it's just the timing of it. It's really poor. Once again, it's kind of his interests come first, and the club seems to come second. Obviously, this was kind of similar to times when back in 09, when, let's be honest, we were probably the best club in the world, rubbing shoulders with Barcelona at the time, and he was still pushing for a move then, the biggest club in the world, so the best team in the world. Yet now, obviously, it's completely the opposite. So neither does a challenge excite him, nor does it, being at the best club in the world keep him there. So for him, his interests are accolades, his interests are records, and he wants to be doing something. He wants to be winning stuff. He doesn't want to be part of a project. He could be happy to know the fact that he would be idolised at United for the next 12 months, that young players would look up to him, that he would support and help with this rebuild. That's not what gets Ronaldo out of bed. What gets Ronaldo out of bed on and to play football every weekend is the fact that he's breaking records and he's winning things. And he knows that United isn't going to be doing that, which for us as fans, we know full well that that's just something that we've got to become realistic with and be positive about. But for Ronaldo, he can't stick around long enough to wait and find out. So I think we all thank him for his time at the club. I think more previously than last year, other than the fact that he was fantastic last year as well. And we just accept it and we move on. But I think we just need to make a decision now, and he needs to come out and tell everybody and tell the fans where he's currently at. Because I think going around in this saga, it's not healthy. It's not healthy for the club, a club that he professes to love quite a lot. I don't think it's helpful whether he stays or whether he goes. He just needs to tell everybody what's going on. I'm hoping the manager knows a lot more than we all do. So then obviously he knows how to deal with it, and he can move on, and he can maybe get a look at a replacement for Ronaldo. Whether that's currently with some of the players that we've currently got, or whether it's a number 9 outside of the club, which I think is going to be a fairly difficult task. But yeah, I think it's come the time now where he just needs to voice his next move and tell us all what's happening. Really, so it's been poor timing for me, Connor, if I'm honest, and that's the thing that's annoyed me with it all. So
I was going to say, just to add on to your points there, Reece. I mean,
yeah,
United's desire is still to keep Ronaldo, but keeping an unhappy Ronaldo is easier said than done there. But I mean, United should have planned for this. There should have been a contingency plan, but this is Man United. Rarely has there been planning ahead in recent years. So, I mean, we've still got, if Ronaldo really wants to leave, we've still got time to offload him if we can find a club that will take him and obviously agree a certain fee. But they're saying the opportunity's there, and United have to make the most of the situation. But I think with Ronaldo's salary, I think he's one of the highest paid in the Premier League. He earns about 500 grand a week. So, I mean, if he was to go, then that salary is off the wage bill, and it creates an extra opportunity in the transfer window for us. So all additions have to be worked around this. I mean, if you look at Ronaldo's salary, and with the likes of we got rid of Pogba, Matic, Mata, Lingard, Cavani, a total of like 45 million in wages has gone off the bill. So, and if Ronaldo was to go as well, that puts it over about 70 million. So, and plus we'd get a transfer fee out of him as well if he was to go. So, with the salary space freed up, it can be reinvested wisely. So, but with Ronaldo's exit, it's going to put more stress on the forward line as well. I mean, we were so reliant on him last season, but I just think we couldn't. With Martial and Rashford, they cannot carry the team by themselves next season. We need at least 2 strikers if Ronaldo leaves, and they should be like handpicked by Ten Hag as well, and be on like sensible salaries as well, ones that are going to work alongside Rashford and Martial. So you could argue what we pay Ronaldo, he's earned every penny of it while he's been there last season. But yeah, I'd like to see him stay one more season, but in the long term, we can't build the team around him. But so it's just United are going to have to speed up the process in finding a replacement sooner rather than later. So maybe that might not be the best thing might not be the best or worst thing in the world that happens.
I would just add a note of caution, by the way, that the day that it was brought up was a very, very slow news day for Manchester United. People were fed up of reporting De Jong's inched even closer. He's inched even closer. You can only report that for so long. And sometimes reporters and journalists, and I do know this, guys, because I am a journo in the sports industry, so I'm exceptionally well versed to tell you how it works, that they will get a snippet and they expand a snippet to make a story. Now, people will say, oh, Romano reported it, but he didn't report anything new. He didn't report one different word to anyone else. He didn't report any different sentence structure, didn't report anything new that was reported at the beginning of the day. So just because Romano's picked it up, it doesn't necessarily mean it's true. And this is the thing with journalism right now. But journalists are fed up of writing about Frankie de Jong. I mean, crikey, they've just added up to here with de Jong. They were doing the same with Anthony for a bit. Malacia, however we want to pronounce it, kind of came out of the blue for us. And Martinez, there's probably a bit of legs to that. There wasn't a huge amount of legs to Eriksen. We knew he was making decisions. They were all right. The Frankie de Jong stuff is a bit ambiguous, and the Ronaldo stuff, it's just at this point in time, who knows where it is. So I just thought I'd just mention that little note of caution.
I think that's the point. I'll round this off, and then we're going to move on away from the Ronaldo stuff. I think that's the key, isn't it? At the moment, nobody really knows. John's saying there potentially Ronaldo's more innocent than we think. Potentially he is. We don't know. My kind of thoughts, and I tweeted the other day, if he goes, I don't think we can blame him. He's the best player of all time in most of our eyes. He needs Champions League. It's going to look weird, Ronaldo in the Europa League, so I don't think many fans can blame him if he was to move on. But as Stu said, it is all kind of talk and hearsay at the moment. There's definitely he's probably unhappy, but I'd be worried if he wasn't.
I'd agree with that.
What United fan is happy after the season we've just had? So, I don't think you can read too much into that, but we shall see. We'll have it all covered on All for United anyway if he is to move. Moving on to incomings though, because there is more than likely two now that has come out today. But Andrew, I'll let you kind of lead in on the first of those two.
Yeah, just being reported that Tyrell Malacia is virtually set to sign. I think he's been reported to be at Carrington today, just finishing up the medical and everything else. And I'm just thinking, well, with his arrival as well, could this be the final wake up call for Luke Shaw as well? Because obviously Malacia coming in, he could say Luke Shaw's definitely got competition now. And say one thing is, like Ten Hag said, he's not going to afford complacency from the players that are there. I mean, last season, some of those players got away with it all season. And say next season, us fans are going to demand the utmost effort from all those players as we go into the new season. And Ten Hag is going to be implementing those high standards at the club. And it's important to understand, like with Ollie, I mean, I'm not trying to play down Ollie, but Ten Hag has no loyalty to these players, whereas Ollie did have some loyalty to them. So, and nor should Ten Hag have any loyalty, given the players that have been at United have thrown previous managers under the bus. So, and Ten Hag said he'll waste no time in chopping and changing players if they fail to reach their expectations. And obviously, when it comes to areas that United need to improve, left back is not somewhere we probably would look at first. Not saying it doesn't need vast improvement, in the years ahead, but I'm just thinking with Ten Hag's preferred style, what he's used at Ajax, and how reliant on attacking fullbacks, I just feel like this is going to be definitely a bigger problem for Luke Shaw and Aaron Wan-Bissaka. I mean, if Shaw gets back to his best, then he should be fine. But with Malacia's arrival, I'm just thinking it could mean Luke Shaw's got to have that room for consistency. Otherwise, he's going to be sitting on the bench or potentially out the door. I mean, obviously we've got Alex Telles as well, but there's rumour that he might be on his way out. And I just think when he came in, Luke Shaw, that first season Tellez was here. Luke Shaw upped his game to another level, and like we're saying, was one of the best left backs in the league. But it all tailed off last season. So I'm just thinking, with Malacia coming in, he's 22 years old, young, hungry, and he'll be wanting to push Shaw all the way and say, I want to get you out of the way, and I'm going to be the number one left back. So I just think, could Luke Shaw's time, is it his final wake up call, and is time running out for him as well if he doesn't produce that consistency as well?
I think just before recent Stu come in on this one, I'm going to throw another name into this mix as well, and Brandon Williams is the name I'm going to throw into this conversation, because I think this signing pretty much shuts that door, particularly if Tellez sticks around as well, because you can't go into a season with 4 left backs. I know Brandon Williams can play right back as well, but I think predominantly when he's coming through, So I'm going to throw that name in there as well, and get Stu and Reese's thoughts on that in terms of what this means for Luke Shaw, really.
Yeah, well, I'd keep Brandon Williams for his versatility, because as you quite rightly pointed out, he can play left back and right back. He's young, he's tenacious. He's not the best out there that we've got, no two ways about it. Fernandez coming through, once he sorts his positional sense, he's probably a better left back, no two ways about it. I don't think it will mean too much for Luke Shaw. I think it will mean more for Tellez. I think Tellez is a more saleable asset. And I think he's probably the one that's likely to be shown the door if we get a bid come in for him. I wouldn't be surprised if Luke Shaw doesn't start the season as first choice left back. Give Malacia a few games to get acclimatised, get acquainted, understand the club, understand the league. So it wouldn't surprise me if Luke Shaw doesn't start. I certainly think Luke Shaw will start in pre-season. And then obviously Malacia, however you pronounce it, will play at some point. But I would consider Luke Shaw would be the first choice. Andrew's quite right. When Tellez came, Luke Shaw was by far the best left back in the league, and he was very, very consistent. But at that particular time, he was getting cover at a proper level from Rashford, which Rashford wasn't covering properly at all. This past season. So I think you'll see a revitalised Rashford and a revitalised Shaw. So I expect Shaw to start the season as first choice.
Yeah, I'll jump in on that one, Stu, as well. I think, how long has it been here now, Shaw? Is it 8 seasons this season? Or we'll be coming to 8 seasons now. It's a long, long time. And we haven't really seen the best of him. But then again, have we seen some managers that have really been able to sort of, set their stall out? Have we seen teams that have been good enough for Shaw to prosper enough? I'm not sure really. Well, no pun intended, but genuinely don't think. I think he's still got more to give. And I think that's kind of Stu's point there, that that World Cup, with the World Cup year coming up, could we see him raise his game again, raise his game to the levels that we know he can do. When he's played in the international team, he stepped up, he's come back to club level and he's played well. So I still think he's got more to give. I think he's hit his levels with Shaw. For Shaw's one of those players where I think if he's not playing week in, week out, if he doesn't get a good pre-season, he suffers because of that. And I think he really does suffer from fitness. He's not a naturally fit player. You have those players sometimes that are just naturally fit and sometimes don't have to play games, can just play on a weekend, don't have to train, and play again on the weekend and be fully fit for the game and play the full 90. Shaw's not that kind of player. He's got to train well. I think he's got to eat right. He obviously puts weight on quite easily, and I think he needs a good pre-season. And I think if he gets that and he stays fit, stays lean, plays every week, keeps away from getting injured, I think we'll see the best of Shaw. I think he's just he's typically English in the sense that he's probably quite injury prone, and he just needs a run of games and to get his fitness up. But let's be honest, in terms of levels and gears, Shaw is the best left back that we've got, and he's got gears above where the current left backs are. In terms of the ones that we've got coming in, Malacia is obviously going to be a definite candidate to be pushing Shaw for that position. I think the other ones, the Tellez, Williams one is a difficult one. I think for me, I liked Williams when Solskjaer was there. I felt like he got a good run of games. I felt like it was too soon for him a little bit. I think he pushed him into that position, and I was hoping that Williams would step up to that, but it wasn't the right time. And obviously he's been pushed out on loan and he's done well for Norwich. So, but he's definitely a young kid. I don't think we should be letting go anytime soon. I think he's definitely got some great potential, and I think letting him go would be a massive error in judgment. Let's just hope that maybe he pushes him out on loan again for another season, and Williams takes that as a positive rather than a negative, and then maybe the season after he comes into the squad. But I think for this season, asking Williams to come in and fight for a place, it'd be asking too much, I think, to be honest. So, yeah.
I think just to play devil's advocate a little bit here, and I'm going to sound like Stuart, to throw it back and kind of contradict the question, I guess, a little bit. Does it really need a signing of another fullback to raise Shaw's level, or should Shaw be doing that anyway? And I think this comes back to what Stu would usually say in terms of player application, that because personally, I don't buy into this. You buy a player and it pushes a player to another level. It shouldn't. Personally, I think you should just be pushing yourself anyway. Obviously, we're going to get to Eriksen in a second, but I don't know. I don't know what everyone else thinks on this, but I don't think a signing of one fullback is going to push Shaw back to the level of what we saw of him. It might well do, like I said, but I don't think that's going to be the reason.
I'll be brief. If I was Luke Shaw and I knew back in May that Erik Ten Hag was coming in, I'd have been studying exactly how he plays from Bayern's under 23s to Ajax. What does he do with his left back? Am I quick enough? Am I fit enough? Is my positional sense all right? That's what you should be doing as a professional footballer. If he hasn't done any of that, then he shouldn't be anywhere near Manchester United. You're at the top of your game when you play for Manchester United. When you pull on that red shirt, you walk out at Old Trafford, you should know exactly, even before Erik Ten Hag walks through that door, and I'm talking about any player here. I'm not just talking about Luke Shaw. I'm talking about any player. You should know immediately what is going to be expected of you in your position, because that's what I would have done. I would have been studying their left backs. How do they play? Does he want me to start high? Where does he start his left back? Is it on the 18-yard box? Is it 20 yards up? Is it 30 yards up? I want to know everything. Does he expect me to defend or attack? How much help am I going to get from my wider players? Who shows for the ball in midfield? Do I need to then step up 10 yards to retake it? Does he like that? Or does he want me to hold it if I've knocked it into midfield? He will want to know all of this. How far should I be from a centre half? Should it be 20 yards, 10 yards, 5 yards? What does he like? And if he's not studied that, or any player hasn't studied that in their own position, then you're going to have problems. But I would have been completely au fait of exactly what he wants, because you've got to be selfish as a footballer. And Luke Shaw's got to be selfish. It doesn't matter who comes in, whether it's Malacia, Tellez, Brandon Williams. It doesn't really matter who comes in. Hold on, another left back's coming in. It's not going to make me better. I want that first team position. So it's up to me as an individual, as a human being, as a footballer, to make sure that I'm first on the team sheet at left back. Because if I'm not, I've only got myself to blame. So that's what he should be doing. So should everybody else. Whether they do, that's, I can't legislate for that. But
yeah, I mean, just to finalise on that one, Connor, for me, I just think I do agree with Stu. I just think it's a fitness issue with Shaw, and I think the one thing that will catch Shaw out this season is whether he's fit enough to play in a Ten Hag team, because that Ten Hag team will want to go forward quickly, and he'll need to get back quickly, and that's where I think Shaw lets himself down. We've seen it too many times last season where he got caught in behind too many times, and that's because he wasn't quick enough, he wasn't fit enough to get back in position and cover himself on that side. But equally, I think we've got to remember as well with fullbacks, they've got to work well with the wing forwards as well. And that's been two positions this season where we just haven't really figured that out. Are we a crossing team? Are we an inverted winger team? We've had Sancho in his first season struggling, and we've had Rashford off form. We've had players out on loan that were on form the season before, like Martial, who Shaw played very well with the season before, played very, very well with him. So as a fullback, you've got to have a good partnership with your winger, with your wing forward, and that's very important as well. So there's a tandem thing there. I don't think it's all necessarily down to the fullback, running the show. But equally, you've got to be very fit in that position, extremely fit, because you're up and you're down. It's one of the only positions on the pitch where you've got to be so far forward and so far back, and you're doing two different jobs. But yeah, no, I think there's still a massive place for Shaw. I just think that he's going to have to get super fit to play in a Ten Hag team, and whether he can do that against a kid who's 20, 21, 22, I remains to be seen. But yeah,
just to add a final point on this, I'm just thinking, I think one of the main selling points for Ten Hag and his pursuit of Malacia as well is the athleticism the 22-year-old possesses as well. I mean, he's agile and fast. He's got good recovery pace. I mean with these attributes, he's good fit for the fast and furious nature of the Premier League football as well. Something which Ten Hag will be very conscious of as well. Can Luke Shaw do that consistently over a season, or over more than one season? So, and with Malacia as well, it's just there's a statue, and then a good engine, to keep going up and down, the left-hand side consistently for duration of a game, which is not too similar to Luke Shaw, although Malacia's, youth and potential for further development may make him more of a enticing option for Ten Hag rather than Luke Shaw. So, as I say, I think it will be Luke Shaw that probably will start the season. But if he's not up to the standard, Ten Hag will be like, "You're going on the bench, and I'm bringing in the new player to fill your role instead." So, it'll be an interesting season to see what happens.
100%. I think just to wrap it up from my side, then before we move on to our next player to discuss, I think you're all pretty much spot on. I think Luke Shaw probably does start the season, but I can't remember who said it. It might be yourself, Andrew. Ollie had loyalties to certain players, so Ralph probably not so much. But Ten Hag's coming in, and he won't have those certain loyalties. He'll know obviously Malacia. That's why we're looking at these types of players, and it goes back to what I said at the start. He's going for players that he can trust and that he knows. Because we're not going to want a repeat of last season. I don't think it can get much worse than last season with the players down tooling. So, yeah. But we'll move on. We'll move on to another signing that has kind of not surprised me as such, but it has kind of come a little bit out of... I don't know. I think at the start of the window, I wouldn't have expected... This is the kind of signing I make when I'm playing FIFA career mode, this is. It's kind of a sensible signing. It's not a very United signing, this. Cristiano Eriksen, then, obviously, it's kind of, I said, come out of nowhere really today, kind of fully announced almost, pretty much. Looks like a 3-year deal. The kind of topic or the kind of conversation that I want to, or the narrative I want to push for this, for the conversation is, where does this leave Bruno Fernandes? Now, I don't think, me personally, before I let the panel kind of give their thoughts on this, I don't think this changes anything. I think we go into next season still with Bruno playing in that potential position, depending on what formation we go with. But so I don't think it changes too much, but I am a massive Cristiano Eriksen fan, so I would like to see Eriksen almost force his way into the starting 11. Now, might sound controversial because I do actually really like Bruno Fernandes, but I don't know. I've got a bit of a soft spot for Eriksen ever since watching him at Spurs. He was one of my favourite players. So I just want to get the panel's thoughts on where does that leave Bruno Fernandes, really? Does anyone think it changes anything? Does it think it, obviously we spoke about Luke Shaw and Malacia there, potentially raising Shaw's game. Do we think that's going to happen with Bruno as well? Reece, I'll come to you first on that one in terms of what you think or the impact that this signing will have on Bruno Fernandes.
Yeah. So I mean, there's several things on this really. Just really first, before I go on the Bruno Fernandes impact, really is just in terms of what Ten Hag's thinking, because I always felt like this was a sign that United wanted to make numerous amounts of times over the years. I don't know if it's one necessarily Ten Hag was that kind of confident on or wanted in as part of his plans. It seems to have come out, like you said, kind of a little bit out of nowhere, really, in terms of Ten Hag wanting this to happen. But I mean, maybe Ten Hag see this as kind of a replacement to De Jong, not entirely, and I don't think in terms of the quality levels, not so much anymore. I think obviously Eriksen a few years ago, maybe so, but it's a similar sort of style maybe. And if he doesn't get De Jong, maybe he sees him coming in and playing sort of a deeper role and still allowing Bruno to play kind of a further forward number 10 position. I know people don't necessarily agree that Bruno can play number 10, but I think we've seen it enough times over the last couple of seasons where Bruno can score goals. He doesn't know where the goal is. He can run beyond the striker. He's like an second striker sometimes. And maybe that with Eriksen playing deep and playing kind of those balls in and around those danger areas from distance, then that's something that it'll fit right into Bruno's style. I mean, it will mean that Bruno is not going to come back too deep. I don't think it's going to affect Bruno, if I'm honest. If De Jong was coming in as well as Eriksen, then there might be a kind of word to say on the fact that it would affect Bruno for next season, that he would struggle to find his way into the team as easily as he's found his way into the team over the last couple of years. I think last season there was calls for Bruno to have a bit of a break. I think we struggled to find ways to keep Bruno out of the team, despite the fact that he wasn't in necessarily great form. But personally, I don't think that the introduction of Eriksen really pushes Bruno out of this, really, and pushes his nose out of joint. I think he's, for me, the different type of players, and I think they can work together personally. And I don't think Ten Hag's looking to sort of push Bruno out with this kind of signing. And equally, I don't think he's trying to do that with De Jong either. But I don't think there's any worry there for Bruno with Eriksen coming in.
There's no harm in bolstering the squad. And I mean, John Foster from beyond the grave, so to speak, because he's supposed to be on panel tonight, but he's sending questions in via the live chat. Look at that. Talking there, Pogba, Eriksen in, who would you prefer? I think the answer for most is probably going to be pretty simple. But in terms of, I don't know. I mean, for me, it's a pretty simple answer, but I think for some people, it might be questionable. It's a tough one, but I wouldn't. Again, looking at the start of the window, I think we all knew Pogba was going, but I didn't think Eriksen was going to be the one that we'd potentially be going after as a potential replacement there. Stu, just your kind of initial thoughts on this Eriksen signing that's kind of come out, and again, your kind of thoughts on where that leaves Bruno Fernandes and his team.
Well, Eriksen's the smartest piece of business we've done in years. And I'm talking a long, long time. And I think it was, I slightly disagree with Reece. And the only reason I disagree is because Eriksen did his rehabilitation at Ajax. So Ten Hag knows exactly what he's getting in the player because he's seen him close up and he's allowed him to rehabilitate with the first team at Ajax. So I think that's great for us. He kind of knows what he's getting. Now, you could argue that a midfield of De Jong, if he comes, Bruno and Eriksen would be excellent. Most fans would look at it and think, well, we don't have that scrapper in there. We haven't got that real ball winner. Ten Hag's never really played with a ball winner. But I actually think Eriksen will start the season on the bench and he'll be an impact sub because I think if we do get Martinez in, although there's a lot of conjecture exactly where Martinez's best position is it centre-back or is it centre midfield? I think he'll use Martinez as a centre midfield player and he will use him in tandem with De Jong, and I think that won't affect Bruno's position. For me, Eriksen, I think somebody put it in the comments, I think Eriksen's a brilliant 10. He's an excellent 8 and he's a brilliant 10, but he can hold. But the thing is, when you got somebody like, although let me be clear about this, I'm not Frankie de Jong's biggest fan. He wouldn't have been my first choice for this type of role, but it doesn't really matter what I think. But de Jong will come deep and he will take the ball off the centre halves. He will show a lot more than McTominay ever did, and he's a lot more comfortable on the ball than Fred is. So it won't be jumping, bouncing up off his knees and so from that point of view, De Jong could play the more deeper role, and then you've got the creativity of a Donny van der Beek, of a Christian Eriksen, and a Bruno Fernandes. The other option for Ten Hag is to play the old false 9 again, for one for the better phrase, which I'm not a huge fan. Oh, and somebody said, do you put him out on the right or do you put him out on the left? So look, what you've got is, the board or Ten Hag, whoever's doing all of this, is building a good squad, a depth of squad. We've got 5 subs next season, don't forget. So there will be rotation in the first 11. There should be rotation in the first 11. And one of the reasons that certain players a drop off during the season is they get complacent, because you're not sitting at that in on the Thursday night meeting when they're giving you the starting 11. You're not panicking that your team's going to be in the first 11 because it's been in there for the past 6 months or 12 months, and it shouldn't be. You should always be white as a ghost, waiting for your name to appear. And there are certain players within our starting 11 that got complacent and played complacent last year. You can't do that. No, you've got to start all over again. Christian Eriksen is going to have a very, very similar impact to what Eric Cantona had with his persona and his personality. When he walks through the door, his dick's been there 30 seconds before him, because he's that type of player. He's got that reputation, and you need that. You need that in the dressing room. You want to be able to look and say, okay, now we've got a fucking chance. Now we've got a chance. The man's here. Frankie de Jong won't do that straight away. He will have to grow into that role. Christian Eriksen's been there, seen it, done it. When we played, and Connor, me and you were on the show, it was one of the last shows me and you were on, I'm sure it was, the night after we played Brentford. I know Andrew was on with me, and I made a point that Mata and Eriksen were by far the two best players on that pitch, because they took the ball in tight areas. They were cool with it. They were calm with it. They progressed the ball quickly when they needed to. They took the pace out of the game when they needed to. Their vision was so far above everyone on that pitch, both of them, that it was a masterclass from both players. If he can bring that to the club, which he will do, and don't forget he's a demon on set pieces as well, I think it'll be. I think it's a great signing for us. It really is. It's a better signing than Frankie de Jong for this period that we are.
100%. And I want to come back to you because I want to get Andrew's thoughts first. But I'm going to come back to you with a question on Van der Beek. Actually, I didn't even think of that. You've got Van der Beek in there as well. If we get de Jong as well as Eriksen in that midfield with Bruno and Van der Beek, is what they can't all play. Someone's missing out. So that's a shout as well. Do you know what this signing reminds me of? It reminds me when we should have got Wesley Sneijder about 10 years ago or whenever it was. It's that kind of player. That's how kind of hyped I am. I've never been so excited for a signing.
It's a great signing.
It's my type of player, this is. But Andrew, your kind of initial thoughts on this and what you think this does to kind of Bruno's position potentially?
So I think it's probably been a bit of a, if it all goes over the line, then it's a bit of a shrewd business from United. In terms of Bruno's like an unorthodox playmaker, high risk, high reward passing profile, whereas Eriksen seems to be a bit more calm and creative, can generate, goal scoring opportunities, and still, retain the possession. And obviously during his career with other football teams as well, he's been one of the most dynamic passers and creators in Europe as well. So, I mean, he'd go some way to replace, the progressive passing that Paul Pogbas did bring to the team.
Should have brought to the team,
should have brought to the team. I mean, at times he did, but other times he didn't. That's why consistency was not the key with Pogba. But I mean, Eriksen, he could operate from the left of a 4-2-3-1 system, which is one of Ten Hag's preferred formations. And Fernandes can operate as a number 10, but with them two in the side at the same time, it could allow United to sustain more attacks more longer as well. Whereas last season we tapped and then it seemed to just ebb away, and then we just couldn't attack again consistently and for longer. I mean, I say in terms of like the transfer, I mean the attacking midfield part wasn't necessarily the most immediate need for United. We've always said that it's the defensive midfield where we've got to get someone in, but I mean Eriksen will bring a lot of experience. I mean, as Ten Hag said during 2019, he said all the experience of Daley Blind and Dusan Tadic at Ajax have brought to that youthful side as well. So, and that's what United have been built on, experience and youth. So, as Stu said earlier, Ten Hag's already seen what Eriksen's capable of. I've spent some time with training with the Ajax youth team. So, say with Eriksen coming in, Fernandes, for Ten Hag, Fernandes can be used as that primary attacking catalyst as well, whereas, Eriksen can be deployed as a number 10 or contribute from wide as well. Also, it does add the questions of Eriksen's role. What happens to Donny van der Beek as well? It's like... that's another thing. I know we're coming on to that, but that does raise that question. So,
isn't that the beauty of where we are, though, Andrew? We haven't been. When was the last time we spoke about? Oh, what about X? What about Y? What about Z? We haven't done that for such a long time, have we? You know, and these are players he knows, so it's absolutely phenomenal.
Just before, sorry, Andrew. Just before you carry on talking on that front, can I just throw a question to the comments? If there's anyone that disagrees with what we're saying here, I'd actually like to hear an alternative to this. Anyone that thinks this is not a good sign and that we shouldn't be adding Eriksen to the side. I just want to see, just while we're talking here, if there's anyone that thinks that maybe this isn't a good piece of business, because we're all sat here saying this is a good sign and that kind of thing. But yeah, just let us know in the comments if there's any of those. But sorry, Andrew, carry on that point. Yeah,
and you can see his influence at Brentford, because he only joined, was it February? And then I think with him inside, they won 7 out of the 11 games that he was in the side. So he definitely, in that game at Old Trafford, even I think it was in the first couple of minutes, Brentford had their opportunity to score, and Eriksen was part of that movement. It was like, he could have literally caught us out straight away. And I mean, obviously he's not, you know, from his time at Spurs, he's not, the constantly running, attacking the midfielder as he once was, but he's still a hard-working player when out of possession, and he's intelligent as well to win the ball back as well, like a bit like Juan Mata as well. But I think I was reading the stat earlier, I think only Kevin De Bruyne and Martin Odegaard have created more chances in the Premier League since Eriksen, after he made his debut in February. So Eriksen's a good player, and say a number of clubs in the Premier League and Europe would he'd make them better. So I think United bringing him will help us lead us back into the top 4, which I know Ten Hag his aim will be, to get us, back to the Champions League and then further on from that. So definitely, as I said earlier, a bit of a shrewd business from United on that score.
Possibly shrewd.
I actually agree with this latest comment. But for me personally, anyway, Eriksen isn't the bracket rival players I've always wanted to see play for us. I think the only other one, and I probably shouldn't say is on the United channel, is De Bruyne, but that's never going to happen. So we've got the better De Bruyne. There we go. That's going to be the caption for the next video.
Here's a question. I don't know. Is De Bruyne older than Eriksen, or is Eriksen older than De Bruyne?
I think De Bruyne's older, isn't he? Because I think De Bruyne's 31 and Eriksen's 30. So
there
we go. We got the younger, better De Bruyne. There we go. That's going to be I'm going to caption that.
I was just about to make a point then on age on this one, because let's face it, we all think De Bruyne is a phenomenal talent, but I've always wanted Eriksen. I think absolutely he's a brilliant player.
I was going to just some would say, I was reading earlier saying back in 2016 they said we should have signed Eriksen rather than Mkhitaryan.
We should have gone balls out for Eriksen, and we haven't, and so I'm really pleased. It might be an indication as well, by the way, his thought process, because he'll have an idea what's happening in terms of incomings and outgoings. So he will have some knowledge, and this could be an indication of what's likely to happen between now and Friday. Who knows?
It's the profile of player that's pleasing me. It's the kind of characters that we're getting in. But Reece, I want to come back to yourself before we look to wrap this up. A name that was just floating about there, Donny van der Beek. Now, couldn't go a show without talking about him with me and Stu. I don't think we've ever had a show with me and Stu on where we've not talked about Donny. But Reece, I'll let you kind of talk about this one then, in terms of, we spoke about what this might do for Bruno Fernandes, but Donny as well. This was supposed to be his almost redemption season. If we sign De Jong and Eriksen, does that push Van der Beek's chances back to the bench again? I'm not too sure. Where do you think that leaves him?
No, I don't think so. Not with Ten Hag at the helm. And I think the two players that need to be worried are Scott McTominay and Fred. I think they're two players I don't think they're going to. They're the two that have to be worried about this. I mean, just on about age there. I think what's Van der Beek is 25.
Something like that. Yeah.
I mean that's ridiculously young, and he spent nearly a season and a half. What's it been? 2 seasons nearly now, or at least a full season, sort of not really doing much. The kid is still young, especially for a midfielder. You could have another 5 or 6 years at the top, and maybe more, but definitely 5 or 6 years right at the very top. So for me, he's a massive player, and if we get De Jong, even better for him. But the fact that he's got Eriksen there on his shoulder, who understands his game, who understands that kind of style of football, wow, he's been playing in a team that just don't know how to retain possession, don't know how to play possessive football, have all been down in terms of their confidence levels, and this kid was just off the back of nearly a Champions League winning Ajax team. Massive potential. I still think he's got huge potential. The Everton loan was a blip. I don't think we've got to look too much into that. I think we've just got to ignore that. I think he's got to ignore that. And I just think he's got a massive season to prove himself. And I think with Ten Hag there, he'll get that chance. So I'm not worried about that in not getting a place now if we get De Jong in as well. I think, as I said before, Scott and Apex have said it there. I know Scott and Fred have got engines, but for me, they're the ones at risk. He might play a Fred, he might play a Scott. He's not going to play Scott and Fred. And if he does, then I think we've all got to be sat here in 6 months' time and be terribly worried about what's going to happen for the rest of the season. But I don't think that's going to happen for next season. So no. I think Van de Beek's got a massive point to prove and a really good season ahead of him, to be honest, in the Ten Hag.
I know, Stu, you want to quickly jump in on this, but can you imagine if we go into next season, if we got McTominay, Fred and Bruno as our midfield three, the fan base would lose their shit.
I think Reece summed it up perfectly. I think the good thing for Donny van der Beek is he's going to walk, he walks through training and sees a familiar pair of eyes every day, which is great for him. He's seeing people that have believed in him as well as a player, know how to use him, know his strengths and know his weaknesses. Donny van der Beek hasn't had that. He's walked through Carrington and, people have not really bought into his style of play. And I think that's about to change. And I would imagine the guy's on cloud nine at the minute. Let's also, I just add one other nice bit of spice here. People are completely forgetting people are forgetting the influence that Steve McLaren's having already as a coach. Steve McLaren, whatever you think about him as a manager, is a revered coach. He is a wonderful, wonderful coach, and he's adapted. Steve McLaren has been able to adapt over the years. He was great for us when he was with us previously, but I think he's matured and he's got even better as a coach. And I think that he will have the impact that Ten Hag needs. Don't forget, Ten Hag and McLaren worked under each other. I think it was FC20, wasn't it? That they had some time together, so they know each other very, very well. And bringing Van der Gag in and the peripheral guys that they've got, it's a great recipe for being able to get these players on the front foot. And that's what we need. We need these players on the front foot, which is the right thing. It's all about attitude. One of the things I think, when I know McLaren won't allow are any slackers. McLaren won't allow that. He won't have that. It's not within his DNA. And neither will Ten Hag or will Van der Gag. So I think it'll be really important. Most people will be looking forward and probably tuning into MUTV, when we play Liverpool on the 12th. Because if we can beat the Scousers, it'd be great. Not that I really care whether we win or lose. It's all about progression from your pre-season games. It's all about how you adapt in those games rather than the actual results. But no, I think Reece is right. I think Donny's got a lot to prove, and I think Donny van der Beek will turn up this season. Now, but he's going to look. He's probably going to get 15 to 20 games this season, Donny van der Beek, to start, which is a lot more than he's had in the past. So, Connor, I think you'll be going. Come on, Donny, pal, because I know you're a opinion of him.
Yeah, I'd like to be proved wrong. I've said for weeks. So, if he proves me wrong next season, I'm more than happy to be sat here going, I was wrong about him. And people can clip me up and do whatever they do with YouTube nowadays. Before we look to wrap up, I'm going to ask you all a quick fire question because I've suddenly been thrown into this hosting role tonight, but I always end up with a quick fire question. I've been trying to think of Johnny for the past 20 minutes. I've been trying to think of one, but I am going to ask you. Eriksen next season then, because obviously that's pretty much confirmed now. How many goal contributions is he getting in a Manchester United shirt, all competitions? I'll let each of you go on that one. Whoever wants to go first.
It's a difficult one. I'm trying to think how many goals he scored last season.
That's a difficult one, though, isn't it?
I mean, if he gets into double figures, if he gets to that size 10, that would be, well, it'd be, compared to most of our goal providers last season, I think he'd be doing. We'll have improved, wouldn't we? So I think it's difficult to put a number on, is it? Is his game all about him providing assists necessarily? I mean, I think the fact that if he retains the ball and he gets us moving, progressing forward, for me, that's kind of just as good as him providing a level of goal, like a level of threat up front. Do you know what I mean, Stu? Like in terms of
Yeah.
You know, we haven't really kind of retained the ball off of really well, and I think him doing that and coming deep for it and retaining possession and moving us from a defensive position into that second phase and third phase of the pitch where we're moving into the opponent's half and he's there constantly moving the ball from one place to the other. That's something we've really lacked. So for me, that's what I'd love to see him do. But and then maybe Bruno and Van der Beek are going to be that kind of goal threat and provide that service to the forward line because he's allowing them to do that. But I don't know. That for me, it's hard to put a number on it, really.
I'm with you on that. I mean, I'm fed up of assists. Well, I got an assist today, and big deal. You know, you didn't score, did you? You got an assist. I've never bought into it. I'd never, you know, when I was growing up, when I was 5, 6, 7, and 8, and you know, I put somebody through and somebody scored. I never got, you know, oh, well done for your assist, mate. It was great pass or well played, Stu. You know, who gives a damn about assists? Reece is absolutely right. It's what you do with the football that matters, you know. And if you're there taking it and moving it 2, 3, 4, 5 yards, 6 yards, 8 yards, but you're keeping us ticking over all the time until you can find that one pass that you require into Bruno, Ronaldo, Sancho, Martial, Rashford, and they score from that. That's football.
Yeah.
So I'm a reason. So I think a number is very difficult.
For Stu to agree with me, there, we've got to end the show immediately as well.
I would agree. I would say that as well.
Yeah, I think we will look to wrap it up there because we have been going for an hour and 15 minutes. And it is 11:15 now. Obviously, John was supposed to be hosting this one. I don't know whether. I don't know. He's still in the comments, though. To be fair, so at least he didn't completely leave us. But no, so lots of good talking points tonight. Obviously, with Ronaldo, Malacia, and Eriksen, we haven't really discussed De Jong, and there's Martinez, and there's so many other things going on at United at the moment. So.
We didn't discuss my topic.
We didn't. Did you want it?
Grass pitch or 5G pitch? Yeah, you know. No, we'll save it for another time.
That's the topiip for next time. Everyone, make sure you tune in to the next instalment. Obviously, we're going to have a lot of content this week. There's plenty of talking points. There's Stu Woolley's first hosting show, I believe, that's going out tomorrow. Is it tomorrow?
I believe it's dropping tomorrow. Yes. It's a tactical preview. Actually, I had an Ajax fan on and my old partner in crime, Abdul. We were looking at analysing Erik Ten Hag, what he's like as a person. What we can expect from him as a person, as well as a coach and a manager, how the team could set up the type. And we did a bit of an Ajax and Manchester United 11, the types of players that we would like to see from both sides. So if you can, I'm not quite sure what time it's dropping, actually, apologies, but if you can keep an eye out for it, give it a like, that would be absolutely great. Whether I'm back hosting again after that, I doubt it. I can't imagine Ben would let me anywhere near hosting after my performance yesterday, but I did enjoy it, and the Ajax fan was very knowledgeable about football, so it's worth tuning in and listen to him, not me and Abdel. Listen to them too, forget what I say.
And I think after my return to live hosting on this channel, I'm going to be kicked off as well. So, but make sure you're liking the video as well. There's been plenty of discussion in the comments. It's been absolutely fantastic. Make sure you're subscribing as well. We're growing every single day. It's fantastic to see. While you're here as well, make sure you subscribe to All for United WFC. The Women's Euros kicks off in this country at Old Trafford as well on Wednesday. Make sure you check out the Lionesses. So over on the sister channel, All for United WFC, you'll actually see the three of us, me, Andrew, and Stu, on that channel as well. So we've got loads of stuff planned for the next few weeks. So make sure you like and subscribe on that channel as well. But for now, guys, we shall see you guys very soon. Cheers, guys.